Well, good morning or good afternoon, depending on when you're doing this lesson. So I'm going to take you through this lesson today. And what I want you to do is I want you to have some paper. It could be your exercise book. That paper would do. Lined paper is great, but if you don't have lined paper, then unlined paper is fine, and you'll need a pen to be able to write with. So make sure you have those things for us to start. I also want to make sure that you're distraction free. So make sure that if you've got a phone nearby, you turn it off so you're not interrupted by messages. I don't want you to be messaging in the middle. This lesson because I need you to concentrate for the short amount of time that we're going to be doing this lesson. And make sure that any television that's around you is turned off so that you're not distracted by that either. So make sure you're distraction free and we'll get started. Okay, so today we're going to be looking at the introduction to farming methods, and we're going to look at increasing biomass, so how we grow things. So you will need to write today's date and the title in your book. I recorded this on Tuesday the 8th of December, but obviously it will be whatever date you are doing this lesson. So make sure you get the right date and title, and we can move into the next slide. So our objectives today are to describe why the world needs to produce as much biomass as it does. So things that are grown that we would, in this case, eat. So describe the need for intensive farming. So we're going to look at what intensive farming means. And we're going to look at some of the methods that farmers use to increase biomass. Okay, and we're going to be specific in what biomass we're going to look at. Okay, so your spaced retrieval then is to look at the diagram of the plant below, and I want you to write the word equation for photosynthesis. Now, if you want to copy this picture into your book, you can do that neatly using a pencil. But you can, if you want to, just write the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and you can match up the words that are in the top box to the numbers. Okay, so do that now. Move on to task B, which is the equation for photosynthesis. Can you remember what it is and write it in there? And then the extension is to add an arrow and a label to the plant that you see, and there are the labels I want you to add. Okay, so you can pause the video and you can complete this part. Once you've done that, you can move on. Okay, so using your green pen, have a look. Did you get the right labels? If you didn't, then write the correct labels in. If you did, give it a tick. Okay, check. Did you get the right equation for photosynthesis? If you didn't, write the correct equation down. You're going to need to learn this off by heart, so you might as well get it right now. And then, did you put the leaf, stem and root in the right place? You can see it on the diagram there. Again, just change your diagram to add them in if you didn't manage to get it. One. Thousands of years ago, many people grew small amounts of crops and raised small amounts of livestock to feed their families. 2. As we have moved from small villages into larger towns and cities, farming has become modernized to meet the demands of a larger and more urban lifestyle. 3. There are now 7.8 billion people on the earth, and we need to provide food to feed them all. Only 10% of the biomass we eat is passed on as energy, so we need a lot of food in order to survive. 4. Intensive farming uses machines, fertilizers, and high-yield crops to maximize the amount of food produced, often often only growing one type of crop. 5. Intensive farming also means keeping livestock in smaller pens. This reduces the energy they need for movement and temperature regulation, and so maximises their size and yield. Okay, so task 1 is to complete the questions below. You will need a knowledge organiser for this. If you haven't got one already, you can find them on the Nottingham Emmanuel website. So if you look in the knowledge organisers and look at the one for farming methods, then you will be able to answer these questions. So find that knowledge organiser, and you've got the first question to write, what's the definition of biomass and what's the definition of intensive farming. You can write those in your book. And then the second one, copy out the sentence and fill in the missing words. And you can see that the missing words are on the bottom. So make sure you do that, and then you can check on the next slide whether it's correct. Okay, if you've got your green pen with you, let's see how you did. So the definition for biomass is the amount of living matter that is formed by an organism. And intensive farming, it's farming methods that usually involve monocultures, and that's mono means one, so it's growing one crop, and using pesticides and fertilizers to improve the crop yield. Okay, and if you read through the sentence, you can see that the missing words were less, smaller, and feed. And then as villages and towns grew larger, towns and cities, so it's towns that was missing, farming methods were modernized, and that meant the crops and livestock could be farmed in greater numbers. And then this was important because only 10% of the energy we need to survive is passed on from the biomass. Okay, and then this was the beginning of intensive farming. So check that you had those missing words. Use your green pen to put them right if you didn't. You can pause the video as you correct your work. Okay, so you're going to watch a video clip on the next slide. So once it's loaded up, you can click on the play, and it should play for you. If it doesn't play, then on the following slide is the clip that you can cut and paste into your browser and look at it that way. Okay, so I want you to watch the clip and then answer the questions that come afterwards.
Organic, natural, conventional, all are terms used to describe a style and method of farming. Farmers know what they're doing, but how do consumers sort out the labels? Roughly, conventional farming means using commercial fertilizers and crop protectants. Natural farming means using those products only when necessary. And certified organic farming is a strict standard that requires growers to avoid all man-made chemical controls. And some growers follow organic methods but are not certified because of the expense of complying. Each method has its supporters among consumers. For most growers, it's a question of which production method works best for them.
We had always grown the garden without pesticides and chemical fertilizers, and it just seemed to be a natural step to pursue commercial farming that way. And I think over time, just by encouraging beneficial insects and soil biology, some of the issues that you might have with pests and diseases, to some extent, are controlled by natural processes.
High volume was not how the Latneys intended to make money with their farm. Earning the organic designation gives them a marketing advantage by adding value right from the farm. And smaller scale farming seems to suit this family's personality better.
I don't quite see the two, organic and conventional agriculture, as being sort of polar opposites. What we're seeing at markets is that organic is having sort of an expanded demand. And it's been that way now for many years.
Well, right now we've got a little bit of everything. We've got our early broccoli and cauliflower, a little bit of kale, kohlrabi, and a lot of different types of salads and head lettuces. We've been starting to do a little bit of microgreens, which is new this year, as well as we've started peppers, eggplant, tomatoes, some of the later stuff.
Many growers are using greenhouses like the Latneys to get a jump on the spring growing season. The Latneys have also added a large packing shed to wash and prepare the CSA foods for market. Another way local food producers are cashing in.
CSA stands for Community Supported Agriculture, and essentially what it is we do a local one, we do one in Fredericksburg and also up in Falls Church, and we deliver boxes of vegetables each week, roughly from May to about Thanksgiving, to families or whoever would like a weekly delivery of vegetables.
I think it just helps us from a marketing standpoint. It certainly suits us as sort of a growing or an expanding small farm operation. We've expanded every year and now we've got 20 acres that are certified organic. There's a grain grower here in Westmoreland County that is certified organic and is farming, I think, thousands of acres between here and Fredericksburg.
Whatever the production method, farm families like the Latneys share the same values. This is more than a job to them.
I love being out here. It's the freedom. It's working with my family. It's being part of a family farm that stretches back for generations and making that farm support, the family.
And that means all methods of farming can survive and thrive for decades to come. From Westmoreland County, I'm Dave Miller reporting.
Okay, so if you didn't manage to watch the clip on the previous slide, then you can see that the link is at the top, just underneath the gold title, and you can cut and paste that and put it into your browser. Now, what I want you to do is to match up the terms on the left-hand side with the descriptions on the right-hand side. Now, you can copy these into your book, or if you think and then match them up by connecting the lines together between the left-hand side and the right-hand side. Or what you could do is you could write the terms down, the conventional farming, and then the description of it, you could put the correct description next to it. However you choose to do that, that is up to you. And if you want to have a go at the extension, then please have a go at that. So you may just need to pause this slide in order to do that. Off you go. Okay, so just check your work. Did you manage to get the correct term with the correct definition? So get your green pen out and put the correct lines in to make sure that you understand, and away we go. So again, you may need to just pause the slide to be able to correct your work. Farmers use large-scale greenhouses to grow some of their more valuable crops, things like tomatoes, strawberries, or peppers. And what this does is it allows that crop to come into season much earlier than it would do if it was outside. These greenhouses, they're fixed structures. They're there all the year round. They're made from steel and glass, which is quite expensive. The good thing about these greenhouses is that they shield the crops from the weather. So if the weather's really, really bad, then the crops aren't damaged. Also, when the weather is really, really sunny, the greenhouses can help to temper the weather. It can help to keep the temperature down as well. Greenhouses like this, they're used all the year round, so from January through to December. The crops can be grown for 12 months of the year. Because they're made of steel and glass, they are very expensive. So there's a massive outlay of money to be able to grow these. But the good thing about them is that they do last. They've got a very long lifetime, between 10 and 15 years. If they're well looked after, then they can last much longer. Farmers use large-scale greenhouses to grow some of their more large-scale polytunnels are used by a lot of farmers. They are fixed structures, or they can be temporary structures, actually, so farmers can put them up and take them down as they want, but they can be fixed as well. They're made from plastic, so it's plastic sheet that is over plastic tubes, and the plastic tubes can bend. So these are very large tents. They're really good because they shield the crops that are underneath them from the weather, and they can also be used to shield livestock from the weather as well. So it's a very cheap barn if you want to keep livestock in them. The positive thing about these polytunnels is that you can grow crops for the majority of the year. They do shield the crops or the livestock from really bad weather. And also, if it's very, very sunny, they provide a little bit of shade, but they do need a little bit of aeration as well, just to get rid of some of the temperature. The good thing about these is that they are very cheap to build. The only problem is that the lifespan's quite short, so between 3 and 5 years, and they do degrade when they're in the weather, when they're in the sunshine, and they become very brittle and they will tear very easily. So they need replacing a little bit more often. Okay, so I want you to answer the following questions using full sentences. So we'll look at number 1. Name some crops that farmers grow in greenhouses. So using a full sentence means some of the crops that farmers grow in greenhouses are, there's 2 marks to that, so I'll probably want 2 crops. Number 2, what else can polytunnels be used for besides growing plants? Polytunnels can be used for, and you can tell me something else. Okay. Number 3, there's 3 marks for this, so I want 3 answers. Compare the advantages and disadvantages of these 2 methods of growing crops. And you can see on the left-hand side is a greenhouse, and on the right-hand side is the polytunnel. So what are the advantages and disadvantages? And then finally, number 4, if you had to choose between a glass greenhouse and the polytunnel, which one would you choose and why? So you'll need to pause this slide and answer those questions. Okay, so make sure you've got your green pen and we can check your answers. So number 1, strawberries, peppers, tomatoes, lettuces, you just need any 2. And then number 2, so you could use polytunnel as a barn, so it could be for shielding or protecting, say, sheep or livestock, for storing straw. So that's another use for polytunnel. Okay, and then the advantages between the glass greenhouse and the polytunnel are on there. They protect the crop from the weather. That's the advantage of both of them. They allow crops to be grown all the year round. The glass and steel greenhouses last a long time. The polytunnels are cheap to build. They're all advantages that people would want. Now, the disadvantages are that the greenhouses are expensive and polytunnels don't last very long. If you've got some other answers, I would be really interested to hear what they are, because you could very well be right. So you could always email me that answer. And then number 4, it was your choice. Which one, the glass greenhouse or the polytunnel? Because, so you tell me which it was, and because. So there's a mark if you give me an advantage and a mark for a disadvantage. Okay. You can pause this slide and you can make sure you complete your marking, your self-assessment of your answers before you move on. Okay, so reflection on modern farming methods. So this is what can you remember? So you will need to write this down, and these answers can be sent to your teacher. So why have farming methods changed? Please write in a full sentence. Farming methods have changed, and then tell me how that's changed. In your own words, describe what intensive farming means. So intensive farming means, and then tell me. Give some examples of biomass. So examples of biomass are, and then name 3 methods farmers can use to increase their crop. Okay, so I want 3 methods. Once you've done that, you can email those questions to those answers to your teachers. Okay, and they may have already sent you some homework on Educate to do as well. So make sure you check that. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed this lesson, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson.